Okay, this today we're going to be talking about a film called The Sorcerer, and it's when was it made? Daz, was it quite
1977?
1977? Yeah, and you've seen it recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
And it's you were telling me about it, say because obviously when you initially told me, I was thinking, oh, The Sorcerer. It's a bit like first thing that came to my head was like a fantasy film, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not actually. It isn't, is it? I mean, I don't know anything about this film. It's obviously you've seen it, so I mean, what sort of film is it exactly? Is it?
Yeah, so basically, it's got nothing to do with like wizards or fantasy or anything like that. But basically, it's a film that was made in 1977 by the director of The Exorcist.
Okay, yeah.
So he did The French Connection, and then he did The Exorcist, and then a few years went by, and then he did this film called Sorcerer. And when it was released, it went up against Star Wars, the original one, in 77.
Oh, right, yeah.
And no one went to see Sorcerer.
But everyone went to see Star Wars.
Yeah, so it completely tanked at the box office, but not because it's not a good film. I thought it was a really good film. And basically, it's got... is it Roy Schneider? The guy from... Jaws, the main guy from the original Jaws. Oh,
yeah, I know.
He's kind of the main character in it. And basically, these four guys, it starts off and you're introduced to these four different characters, and they're all kind of on the run from the law. They've all done something wrong, and they're all offered a certain amount of money, and kind of, and they're going to be allowed to come back into America. If they transport this shipment of really unstable dynamite to an oil well 200 miles away.
Okay.
And so basically these I think it's like it's basically like an oil rig sort of thing. There's this kind of like oil farm that's happening, and there's a big explosion there, and what they need is this nice nitroglycerin to kind of blow it up to stop this big fire and everything happening. And so their task basically is going into this South American jungle in these really old sort of style trucks to transport these boxes of dynamite, and it's really unstable because basically they've been sat up in the heat for however long, and they're leaking this nitroglycerin sort of liquid and everything, and
so they're risking their lives more or less, are they, to try and to sort of transport
and
this?
Basically, yeah, exactly. They've got to kind of drive it through the jungle back to this town, and it's just a really tense film where you know in the back of this truck that it could go off at any moment. But obviously the four guys, because they're all criminals, they don't know each other, so you've got quite a lot of tension going on between them there as well.
Okay, yeah. So they go in not really knowing each other, and I suppose throughout the film they sort of grow closer to each other. Do they sort of grow relationships between each other? Do they or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's funny because when I heard that it was like a film from the 70s, I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be. I mean, some of the films from the 70s that you watch, you
look at them now, don't you? And you sort of look, you can tell with the filming, but also like you said, the acting's comes across a bit corny, doesn't it, or a bit?
It's really over the top, isn't it? And characters suddenly do things that I don't know that it comes across more as funny than it's just a shift in cinema, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they've all seemed to speak the same as well in those old days. I don't know if you like. I don't know if it's the 50s films. They've always got that same sort of voice, haven't they? Same accent. Like spoke different in those days.
I always find with these older films as well that like they always like suddenly have these outbursts as well, don't they? They always have these sudden they'll suddenly like shout at the other characters and things, but it's really like jarring. Like all of a sudden they come out with it, and it's really like I don't know. It always comes across as like really over the top. Doesn't it,
like maybe sort of more like sort of staged, not so natural. Like they just
yeah, definitely. But no, actually, this film, that was kind of my point with it. It's like it didn't come across like that. This film, like it's really well acted, and it's a really different type of story. And I imagine it would be the kind of thing that they could remake now, and I think it'd be really good.
Yeah. Is there any reason? Where does it get the name from, The Sorcerer? Then, do you know where that comes from, or is it?
Well, I mean, whether I missed something in the film when I watched it, I don't know. But I'm still not.
It might have had the wrong cover on the DVD.
yeah, maybe. No, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's like what they call the trucks that they go through, or I'm not too sure why it was called Sorcerer, but maybe someone could shed some light on that, maybe. But
it's a shame, actually. Yeah, go on. Sorry, let you finish.
No, whether it's got like another kind of meaning to it, the whole kind of sorcerer thing, where it's, it's kind of fantastical, and it's got an air of sort of mysticism around it or something. I don't know.
But I was saying it's a shame that, because obviously I've never heard of this before. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe as such because it's quite an old film, but I don't know anyone. I don't think that's really heard of this film. But it's a shame, like that you said, it's a very good film. It's acted well. It's made well. It's a good story. But it almost seems because it came out at the same time as Star Wars. Like Star Wars almost won the battle in a way. Like everyone was sort of, that sort of everyone went to see that. Everyone loves Star Wars. Is massive now, and that sort of got almost shoved into the background, so everyone sort of forgot about that almost. You know what I mean? It sounds a bit like that. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I think so, because I think it is a really good film, and it's just been re-released. It's like the 40th anniversary on Blu-ray, which is where I saw it and picked it up, because I thought it sounded quite interesting.
So you hadn't heard of it before then? Or
No, never. No, it was only literally, I saw the Blu-ray, basically, 40th anniversary Sorcerer. It sounded really interesting, so I thought, I'll pick it up and give it a go, and... Yeah, and then I looked into a bit of the history of the film, and then you kind of you see sort of what happened, and it's almost been, it's not been around for like the last 40 years. It almost had its release and then just kind of disappeared. So it's quite good that it's been re-released, really.
Well, I'll definitely give that a go now. Now you've said about it, sounds good. Yeah,
I think you'll like it. To be honest, I think it is a really good film. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, it seems one of those films that's quite easy to get into. It doesn't sound too sort of overly complicated. It's easy to watch, if you know what I mean. It's one of those sort of easy
definitely.
to watch films.
And it draws you in through the story. Like straight away, as soon as it started, I was really intrigued, and like the way it sets up the characters and things. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away, but it's it's a really interesting film.